maybe 4 or 5 years ago, as the program elevated to another level, this opportunity became maybe more realistic for us, a possibility. A year ago, we went through the move to the A10 without knowing what tomorrow would bring, much less a year later. And in the end, the opportunity is there now, and we had to take advantage of it.
Was there an initial concern when you started daydreaming about the Big East before it had all come together? Like, okay, if we do this, we've got to handle this better. Maybe the budgets.
Well, you know what? The thing that is probably true. I thought about the movie Jaws, where the sheriff is on the boat and he sees the fish and he says, "We're going to need a bigger boat."
Yeah.
Well, that's to a certain extent what we thought. Although with this opportunity comes more revenue to do what you need to do to compete, and that's probably the most important thing in this. Is we're not joining the Big East and happy to be there. We want to win. We want to be successful. We want to do it the right way. We want to do it the Butler way. And the Butler way includes being successful. So we go back to focusing on the process and putting the things in place step by step to be successful.
This is in 3 years. I mean, most coaches or people don't see that over the course of a career, let alone in 3 consecutive years. Was there any challenges that you guys faced moving from the horizon to the A10? I mean, what kind of things are you going to learn?
I think it's the biggest thing, and I said this about the A10 as well, is you've got to have great depth at every position. You know, long, athletic guys, especially the 3, 4, and 5. And more than just 1 or 2 guys, usually 2 deep at every position. So that's a little bit unique, but it's, you know, we've never prepared necessarily for league. You know, in our 12, 13 years here, we've prepared to try to be as well as we could be, and also try to prepare our teams to play against the best in the country. And so that doesn't really change. It just so happens that you're going to be playing teams with a lot more notoriety. But I also think this: we played great teams in the Horizon League, which was a great competitive league. We played great teams in the A10, great competitive league. We're going to play great teams again. The key is to be in us as well as we can be.
Coach, I know you're not one to pat yourself on the back. You've been so instrumental to this program. This is another milestone in what has been several milestone moments for you and for this program and for the school over the last several years. What does it mean to you personally to go into a prominent program with a basketball-centric mentality like this?
I know this is going to sound crazy. It really isn't about me. I've never had a goal necessarily to coach in a specific league or to do any of that. It's been more about, I just try to do my job as well as I can, and it's more about those players that I mentioned in that room, and those are the guys that, you know, I think that we should be talking about today, because without Gordon, without Shelvin, without all those other guys I mentioned and a whole host of others, we're not sitting where we are, and I think we all recognize that, and heck, I've benefited from them more than anybody, and so, you know, I know my place in all this, and I know how minimal that is, and Barry really did set this thing going, and we've been able to, you know, take advantage of that.
Coach, some of these players were recruited as Horizon League, you know, conference members, and then they go to the A10 and now the Big East. Do you feel like there's an advantage now that they've gone through this change, you know, going into their senior year?
Well, they were recruited to be players at Butler University. They weren't recruited to be players in a specific league. And we will continue to just recruit guys that we think fit what we're trying to do well, and that'll be the focus and intent.